Good afternoon, everyone. And especially all the women here, good afternoon. So, well, I think the numbers look really interesting. I think Aisha and Rauda has produced all these numbers and it can be very enticing. Here we are to speak about the people in our lives who are not only traveling, either they are traveling or they are making decisions for you when you travel. See, I see all the men nodding. Right, so we're either traveling or making decisions. So it's quite interesting to understand the psyche of the women travelers. So here we are with my three colleagues from the industry. We have Akasha, she's from Ogilvy and Moore, and she will be providing some insights on the marketing dimensions. We have Aisha here from Mastercard, and she will be giving you more insights on the women traveler and their needs and the research that we have discovered. And we have Hasna over here, who is an influencer, and she will give her perspectives on the ground, on what really Muslim women are looking at. So we have, first of all, the broader research. There are lots of broad research on women and women-related travel. So we're looking at women because of the empowerment or the increase in disposable income or the advancement in terms of their careers and employment. Nearly 2/3 of the traveler today is a women leisure traveler or a business traveler. And here in the Muslim traveler, we are looking at almost 50% being a Muslim woman who is traveling. And the wider research is also showing that women are looking for experiences which are very similar, which is to energize, to explore. And what's the third need? Empathy, right? And we also see the same thing among the Muslim women as well. However, there is a little bit of a difference between the wider, broader, general, we are talking about women, and Muslim women. Among the Muslim women, there is a dire need for travel to explore, autonomy, right? The need for self-fulfillment. However, at the same time, there is also a very, very strong need, or in fact, there's a growing need to follow the Islamic principles and faith-based needs to be met while they travel. So while they're using the resources to gather information, they are also activating themselves to ensure that they empower themselves with travel, but they should be given the opportunity to practice the faith while they travel. So on one hand, empowerment is happening. On the other hand, we're seeing more groundedness in terms of the faith-based needs. That's quite an interesting. So identity is critical, but engagement with the faith-based needs is also becoming even more important than ever before. So that's something that the audience here may want to pay attention to. So I have the very first question, which is to do with the first E, which is explore, right? Muslim women are traveling, they're going around the world, the globe, and discovering new destinations. So beyond the YC destinations, we are seeing destinations like Indonesia, Malaysia, Korea, Japan, even Uzbekistan is clearly climbing up the ladder. What is it about these destinations that tend to pull the Muslim women to their territory?
Hi everyone, Salam alaikum. So, okay, before I come to Singapore, because I'm French, so born in France, and I stay in Singapore since 2015. I came to Singapore to visit Singapore. I came to Malaysia, Indonesia. I didn't know this time that I will, in the future, come to live here. So why I choose to come to Indonesia or Malaysia? Just because I know at this time, I know that I will find halal food. I mean, I can just pray everywhere because there is a lot of mosques.
So prayer facilities are widely available.
Exactly, that's why, yeah. So I think it's, and I have a lot of followers. I mean, I have a community, more than 200,000 followers, mostly Muslim women, and most of the time when they send me messages, they always ask me, okay, Hasna, I want to go to Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, where can I eat halal food, where can I try, I don't know, Japanese food, So people, they are really looking after this, and something very important in France, we don't have swimming pool for women, I don't know if you follow what happened last time with the burkini. We cannot go and just swim in the beach, you know. So a lot of women come to Singapore, to Malaysia, to Maldives, because they know that they will find hotel with this accommodation.
Okay, so just to just summarize what you're trying to say, there is still a need in them to find a destination that is able to give them easily accessible halal food. So accessibility seems to be something important to them. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So what would you say to those destinations that are not topping the list at the moment? How could they join in to attract the Muslim women? Those destinations that want to, but they're not there in the top.
I think they have to provide services, they have to provide, food, halal food, maybe some hotel with halal food, with some swimming spa for women. The prayer, you know, because we have to pray 5 times in the day, and it's very important also for us to have mosque, you know, to find some mosque, or sometimes just some places, you know. I remember when I went to Japan, we find some small places where we can, it was not a mosque, but some places where I know that they can go there and do my
some private spaces.
Exactly.
Yes, okay, all right. So you would like the destination to provide some adaptability in terms of being able to provide you with a space, or to at least get some halal food, authentic halal food.
Yes,
for you as
because for me when I travel, it's also to discover the food and to try the local food. So I feel very frustrated when I go to a place and I cannot try. If I travel for a few days, I'm okay, you know, I can just eat vegetable, rice, you know. But when I travel, most of the time when I travel with my family, I have 3 kids, we travel for like 10 days, sometimes longer, because we try sometimes to combine some destination. So I want to eat meat, I want to eat local.
You want to experiment the local authentic food, and you want that available to you. And I think this is quite interesting because we see more and more women moving into food tourism, and especially slow food tourism, and I think that's really interesting what you're saying. So I'm going to shift a little bit in terms of needs, you know, the whole thing about energizing. So Aisha, this is a question for you. So when you're looking at Energize, where women basically are traveling more in terms of empowerment, life-fulfilling goals, and now it's all about, you know, must do and instead of must see. Once upon a time it's like I'll climb up Eiffel Tower and so forth, but today it's like, what do I must do, right? So they want to move into local experiences, or they want to go into activities that could engage them and bring that out in them. What are you seeing in terms of trends among women in terms of what activities they are seeking?
I think there are 2 or 3 things which we're seeing, right? One of the things which I found really interesting in the report was you actually had quite a big, sizable population of the Muslim travelers who were solo travelers. And I thought that was so interesting, because normally when we talk about travel and we talk about women per se, what are some of the key things which we're worried about? So I know Hasna was talking about food being important, but really safety and security is paramount. When I travel as a Muslim woman, and I kind of put myself in each category, right? So I travel on my own at times, I travel with other women, I travel with my family, and I'm also a business traveler. And safety and security is important to me at every single stage wherever I go, because as you see the picture also in front of you, we all look different, right? But at the end of the day, what is important to us is the faith-based needs, which make us slightly unique. And therefore it's important to curate benefits to classify and meet that need. Because if you don't, you will have social influencers say that yes, it was nice, it was a nice country, it was a nice hotel, but did it really treat me as being unique and individual? The answer may be a no. I think the second thing, and you're absolutely right, what we are seeing as trends, and whether it's part of the report or what we see even from MasterCard when we look at global trends on travel, is the importance of experiences. Okay, you're absolutely right. A couple of years ago, it was all about buying the bag, or we moved away from materialism. We moved to experiences. We moved to pricelessness to be able to share that with friends and family. 2, it's all about digital. The importance of digital, the digital experience, and the digital journey is so important when it comes to attracting the segment, because they are very mobile savvy. Everything is done on the phone. I think we've all heard of FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. We can leave home without our wallets, but we cannot leave home without our phone. in terms of being able to book online, in terms of being able to, book whether it's a ticket, it's a hotel, it's an experience at, Disney or wherever it may be, that experience is so important. From a payment perspective as well, right? We're traveling abroad, we don't want to go with cash, we want to go with some kind of payment solution. How do I protect my digital identity? Equally important, right? Because I'm making a lot of, I'm making a lot of these purchases on a card, I'm making a lot of purchases online. Safeguarding my digital identity is also very critical to me. So I would say these are some of the kind of trends we're seeing. It's important as you're trying to look and cater to the segment is, whilst the segment doesn't want to be treated differently, and I think that's really important to talk about. It's not like I'm putting a white glove and saying this is different. It's exactly the same. Their needs are the same as all other women travelers. There's just certain sensitivities you need to be able to provide to them. I'd like to give a personal, my own personal experience. I went last year to Germany. I went with my mother. We do an annual trip to Germany. My surname, for those of you if you missed, is Islam. So, generally people do know I'm a Muslim, whether I want to hide it or not, right? I don't wear the hijab, but my name gives me away. When we got into our hotel and I got into my room, I saw the Quran over there and I saw the Janamaz or, what we pray on. When I went to breakfast the next day, the hotel staff, it was a small hotel, but the hotel staff actually told us, okay, don't go there because the food over there is poor. It was so refreshing because it was not something which was announced publicly, but it was a small little experiences which said, okay, we care about you as an individual. We appreciate that there are things which may be important to you. We're not using the same kind of paintbrush on everyone, but we want to make sure you experience what we have to offer and you come back and you tell other people about it. And things like those are things which kind of stay with you and therefore, you are able to communicate that a lot of things.
Yeah. So I think what Aisha, what you're saying is it's a really, really interesting thing. While many hotels are looking at, can we have a halal restaurant or a private space and so forth, but I think you are really touching a really important point about being sensitive. That sensitivity amongst the staff when you check in, the sensitivity to the point that they actually transcended down to the hotel, housekeeping, to the restaurants and say, okay, we have got a Muslim traveler here, how can we be a little bit more sensitive to their needs? And I think that leaves a real memorable experience, and that's what you do to position your hotel among this market, isn't it? Right? Okay. So, talking about sensitivity, I think women are a little bit more sensitive here, and I think that touches on the third E, which is empathy. It has been shown that regardless of whether you're a Muslim woman or women generally, are now moving into looking at social causes and environmental consciousness when they travel. So when they want to go to a destination, they look at what is this hotel trying to do? What do they put on the table? Is it from their own gardens or is it from the local community? So when we notice that amongst the Muslim women, this tends to be something more inherent. It could be something to do with our culture, of course it is, that we have to be very conscious. So the question, I'm going to ask you to share something about, do you see this happening? And do you think that is important for either hotels or destinations in terms of marketing and positioning?
I think definitely so. There's a straightforward answer. One of the things that we found in an initial study that we did is that 9 in 10 Muslims say that our faith affects our consumption. And you're right in that increasingly, especially with millennials or Gen Z now, there's a lot of consciousness that the religion doesn't just encompass the basics of halal food, being conservative in the way we dress, but also how we are affecting the community and society and the environment. So that is something that is increasingly more important. And you see that there are a lot more millennial or Gen Z travelers who are looking at hotels which support local businesses, for example, things which are eco-friendly, and you do see that happening a lot. So for me, I got married fairly recently, and one of the things when we talk about empathy, and that's really true, is that we decided on a rather unconventional location for our honeymoon, which was Bosnia. And this really speaks to the empathy part of it, because for us it was a case of, okay, they went through a lot of challenging times recently, they're now finally starting to boost their tourism. So how can we support that and in the process also learn about the culture? And I think that kind of consciousness and the desire to engage with the local community is becoming increasingly more important.
So just to ride on for some of these hoteliers here or DMCs or DMOs here, how do you think they could position themselves in the minds of these Muslim travelers to say that, okay, this is one destination, this is one hotel that really touches our hearts, So have you got some examples to share?
So I think that the most important thing is that you have to be authentic and you have to be real in what you're doing. So then it's not a case of, hey, pretty hotel, oh, we have a halal stamp. That is the minimum requirement, right? Now it's really showing that, okay, we are walking the talk by hiring people of a certain background or like buying produce from farmers, from local farmers, and when you do your communication, you need to go a lot more in depth because you have a more astute consumer segment, and you can't fool them because especially like when you talk about the rise of digitalization, people will do the research, and the worst part which we see really is that when a company says they are all good and they are being very Muslim conscious in the way they do things, and then there's something that goes wrong or there's a leak that actually they're not, that's when things really go out of proportion. So I won't give an example specifically in this industry, but just any industry, say you look at the fashion industry, right? Okay, they talk about, hijab friendly collections, and then there's just some small part of it which are seemingly small but actually big, like, actually it was manufactured in a place where they have child labor. And you can see that there is a whole outcry in the society. So it's really staying true to what you're saying, and it's not just what I call greenwashing when you're trying to communicate.
Thank you, Kaushan, because I think you have just brought a very, very salient point here, very important, because I think the social media for the Muslim market is not just a medium where you actually share. What we have also found in our research is that they use social media because it's an accountability and responsibility of a Muslim to put up there what is right, what's wrong. If it's right, let's all share it, So if it's wrong, then we better share it too, So if you're doing something not quite authentic and not quite right, I think be very careful, because amongst the Muslim market, it's about accountability, responsibility, and the reason why we go on social media is basically to share, because that's our responsibility. So thank you for sharing that and making a point here of being true, authentic, and to be genuine about what you exactly are doing. So I'm going to shift a little bit to us now. Just now you were mentioning about, you want a private space, recreational space, maybe, wear your bikinis and be very comfortable, nobody actually staring at you, or a swimming pool that hopefully will not be shared, with the other genders, or you want to go to a spa and just do your girl thing and not be afraid of who is sharing that space. So when I talk about this to hoteliers or destinations, they say, okay, that could be really expensive. Should we really go out just to make recreational facilities private? Is there a market for that? So my question to you is that, is there a market for this among the Muslim women? And number two, does it have to be expensive?
It will be expensive if we don't have offer. It's the law of the market. If we have a demand and we have a few offer, if we really want to go to the swimming pool, we have to raise the price. But if we have a lot of demand and a lot of offer, I think the price will be adjusted. Yeah. Just something that I want to tell you, I told you that I'm looking for like a spa, private spa, all of this. To be honest now, because I'm living in Singapore and because I have access of this, in the condo you can find all this. I'm not looking anymore when I travel for spa, all of this, but for my follower, because every time they don't ask me, Hasna, I want to eat. No, most of the time, Hasna, where can I go to swim? Where can I go to, to just take a sun and just, So that's why I don't speak about just me, but I also want to speak about what my followers share with me and what they want.
So you do hear that among your following, requesting for these services? Do you hear more of this in your followings? Requesting more of these services?
A lot. Even, we went to Maldives and, if you check my vlog, you will see that I was swimming and all of this. But still, I will have some people will ask me, Hasna, do you know if I can rent a private, I want something very, and I was thinking, but you can swim, no one will look at you, but no, I want something. So some people really want this. I think we can only understand when we don't have this chance. And I came from France, and I know that it's very hard to have, a swimming pool, to go to the swimming pool, We cannot go to the swimming pool. You have to wear a bikini or so, yeah.
I think you have, again, a really critical thing here is that if you come from Singapore or Malaysia, maybe it's widely accessible. But we are looking at Muslim women traveling from so many parts of the world today that is not easily accessible, and that's what they seek when they travel to another destination today. Is that right?
Yes,
that?
yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to shift a little bit from leisure traveler, because I know there are some of you here from hotels which are targeting the business traveler. And again, we are beginning to see a big increase in women business travelers. So how different are they in terms of their needs, Aisha, when it comes to business travel needs?
So I think one of the things which you saw from the report, around 11% of the women are business travelers. And their needs they're different because unlike personal or leisure travel where you are actually doing a lot of research on your own, when you talk about business or corporate travel, someone else is actually taking that responsibility on your behalf, right? Because it's your company doing it. In terms of there'll be certain pre-selected hotels, there'll kind of be certain pre-selected where you can go, where you cannot go. Companies tend to be looking after their employees so that the safety and security element is kind of already taken care of. But that being said, the needs still are fairly similar. And once again, I'm going to give you my personal experience. I'm a woman traveler. I travel a lot throughout Southeast Asia. In certain cases, when I get into a country after 12 midnight, and I saw, it's a small example, but I just wanted to narrate the example because it talks about the sensitivity piece and the empathy piece. I travel generally on my own. I got into Thailand after 12 o'clock midnight. I booked a car and they gave me a female driver. Right? They didn't have to, but they did. And straight away I was like, wow. Now maybe it was unintentional. But the fact that they gave me a female driver at that point in time became a wow for me because suddenly I started feeling a bit more secure. But that being said, as I said, the business traveler, the needs are slightly different, but you should still cater to them because a lot of times business travel can get extended to leisure travel, right? So if you're going for 2 days to any market in Southeast Asia, you may choose to stay over for the weekend. And that's where the whole difference kind of comes in because leisure travel, it's about researching, it's about your digital journey, it's about experiences you can share with someone. Business travel is something which, you don't have a choice of where you have to go. If your company says you have to go to, ABC, you have to go over there, right? The worrisome part is already been taken care of by someone else, but still, how do you cater to that business traveler? Hotels have done it quite effectively in some other markets where that's a woman-only floor, it's certain women amenities. I hate going to the hotel and when you open the closet, you'll have the hangers for like the men's clothes.
Yes.
You're like, I'm a woman, I'm a woman, give me
Or the robe that's oversized, or the slippers that two of our feet can get into.
There's small examples, but I just kind of want to talk about these examples because, as I said, a good experience is something because of digital and social savviness of this particular generation they will talk about. And a bad experience is something they will equally talk about. And cases where you have followers, you can make such a difference because you can accentuate something which is really small but which has made it a much more memorable journey for you. And the same thing goes for even a business travel. So when I go and I see an experience like this, I come back and I actually tell my other colleagues who may not necessarily be Muslim women, but I'm like, wow, they did that. And who doesn't want that experience? Because we talked about across the board, Muslim travelers do say safety and security is paramount for them.
I think there is something we are talking about, our circle. And there is a word that I think in this book, Jen M, they were talking about the e-Ummah, which is the electronic Ummah, which is the Muslim community. And I think it goes viral in there, and then we want to share, we want to talk about that. And the moment it becomes a really interesting, good experience, like in your case, and I think lots of women here are paying attention to what you're saying because that goes viral, yeah? But I also want to touch on something you have just mentioned about the business traveler not sometimes having the opportunity to say where we want to go and what. So the responsibility then falls on the travel management company, what we call TMCs, where I think whether you're a hotelier or your destination, perhaps you should be communicating that to the TMCs and tell them that, these are hotels that are Muslim friendly, women friendly, and this is what we have, and they are the one who are going to make the final decision for the business traveler. Would you say that?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The role of the TMCs. Okay. So going back to the whole idea of digitalization today, I think we know that we have to be visible online, otherwise you're going to lose the big market. And women especially are moving more and more onto the digital space. And I also mentioned that it becomes our responsibility to share. So Kasha, tell me a little bit more on, I know that again we are not doing terribly well when it comes to the digital space and what we are putting up. So what would you advise to either destinations or hotels, how could they be a little bit more prominent in reaching out?
Before I answer that, if I can just build on what Aisha shared with regard to business travel, because I just came back from Paris a few weeks back, and we were doing a workshop, and one of the things that I really see as an opportunity is, after the workshop, there's the networking session, and what happens during a networking session, typically people go out for drinks, and there is nothing more awkward than standing there, not knowing what to do with yourself. Everybody kind of laughs and drinks some wine and go cheers. So I think there is an opportunity there when we talk about business travelers, where there could be more. I mean, there's now mocktails as well, but I think increasingly you see a trend of things like Sidlift, or I think there's a recent beer brand which went 0.0% alcoholic, and I think there is an opportunity because it's very uncomfortable in a business setting to not know what to do with yourself in that context. And I guess my industry, because we're all about branding, marketing, the stereotype of a lot of boozing is true. So it is especially relevant then. I think going back to your point about what more can be done to leverage digitalization, I think similarly with how it's a lot around hyper-localization when you talk to customers, it's the same for marketing. So a simple example, because of all the data that's collected online, what you can do is, as a website, you know like how when you say go on a fashion site and then you look at the pair of trousers, then suddenly when you go onto Facebook, that trousers keep following you. So I think that's something that the travel industry can be a lot better at and has the opportunity to do when it comes to hyper-localization. So another simple example I have is because the data that you collect online allows you to identify, this person's interest is in adventures and like say rock climbing. So what happens is that if they go to your website, they see a banner of a certain country that you want to be recommending them, and it's geared towards rock climbing. And that same website, just because another person is interested in foods, goes to the exact same website as a picture of women eating food. So I think that hyper-localization to speak to what people care about based on the way they search, the way they shop is especially, it's a really big opportunity which I don't think has been tapped yet. I know because when I do my own Googling, there's all the ads that appear. Quite a lot of it is not as relevant as it could be, whereas there are some companies who do it really well. So I think that's one part. And the other is really social media. Again, with content, it allows you to be hyper-localized and speak to the audience more as well.
So I think before you even speak to the audience, I think understanding them and awareness is really critical, right? Profiling them and really, really getting to understand what they want is critical before you can actually go out there and start to do all of that. So I'm going to shift a little bit in terms of moving to looking at the future, right? We know that the potential of this market is huge. We want to tap on it. What would be the one thing, Aisha, you're going to say to either travel companies or destinations or hotel? What is the one thing that you're going to say that is going to enable them to leap out there and grab this market? Just say one thing, please.
I would say personalization, and I think personalization is really important. I know you said one thing, but I'll just add a few sentences with it. Personalization is important because when we've also done research at MasterCard, what we've seen is customers wanted to be, going back to the point which was raised earlier on, I want to be given an offer or benefit which is relevant to me. Right? If you know and if you have data, and you are able to get data and you know information using and leveraging, the kind of reports which go out there, and you give me something which is personalized, which is relevant for me, that is the most important thing, and that's how you're going to attract new customers. Secondly, it's a bit more difficult to do, but it is important, is the safety and security element. I think a lot of times, especially as Muslim women, because of the way we look, you may, there's always a fear factor of going somewhere which you feel you may stand out and they may not be welcoming to you. As a hotelier, it's difficult to do it at a country level, but at a hotelier level you can. So for me, I would say safety and security is paramount, but if you can do more on personalization when you have data, use that data intelligently to give relevant offers to your customers. And thirdly, whatever you do, it has to be digital.
Thank you, Aisha, for the last words. And Akash, if from the branding perspective and positioning perspective, what would a destination or a hotel do to create this top-of-the-mind awareness among the Muslim market?
I think it really is about speaking to the gap that exists in the market, and I got really excited thinking about it. So please humor me. I have three, food for thought, three ideas in terms of food for thought. I think the first is, I think last month Saudi allowed for the changes in their visa requirements, which means that female travelers can actually come to Saudi without having a mahram, or basically a male chaperone, right? And that is a big thing because Saudi is still seen as a key influence and powerhouse when it comes to calls on what is appropriate for Muslims or not. So if you think about that, what we can expect to see is an increasing, shift of an increase in female travelers, solo female travelers. So I think that's one thing that we need to keep in mind. The second part is that I was recently speaking with my colleague in the UK, and that is again because of the increasing affluence of females, female Muslims. There is also an increasing demand in traveling together, like hands nights, and especially in less Muslim friendly, in less Muslim friendly locations, there is a gap that can be filled. And the third is, a bit more left field, but if you look at the data, generally you see an increasing rise of more educated female women, female Muslims, and sometimes in certain communities you see that imbalance of very educated Muslim women and not so much the non-Muslim men, the Muslim men. So is there when you think about doing destinations, it's an opportunity for Muslim men and women to meet. So again, completely left field, but there is a gap because people are not meeting their partners. So is there something you can do as a destination?
Aren't these women really wonderful? I asked for one, they give me three. Give me more than always I ask for. Thank you. And as an influencer, I'm sure you're thinking about, what's going to happen next, right? How do I appeal to this Muslim women at the audience? What's going to happen in the industry in the next 5 years? Give us one thought of what you think might be happening in the industry in the next 3 to 5 years. Muslim women.
Yeah, I remember 10 years ago, when I just married, the first trip that we made with my husband, it was Turkey, and I was shocked because I went to this beach with this woman, and you can wear what you want, and there is music, no man, I was really shocked, But now you can, there is a lot of opportunities now. I remember this time, it was Turkey a lot, but now everywhere you can find a lot of things. So I think we'll have more and more offer, and we'll also have more and more demand. And is it Nolia? She said that when she was young she cannot travel. It was the same for me. But now I have my daughter, and from now I teach them to travel. And what I'm doing also on my social media is really to inspire women, and especially women, the Muslim women, to travel. Because you speak about the education. You educate yourself when you travel. It's not just travel for fun, but you learn a lot, and yeah.
So you just talked about your daughter. It's interesting because we're talking about Gen Z. I don't know what's the next one? Gen Z, what's the little one? So what do you think they are going to be looking for when they travel? Really, they're moving way ahead. But
I don't know, but I'm sure they will love to travel because all the time, when we
no
just
inhibitions with travel.
I don't know, but they are always, mommy, when we are going, it's expensive to travel, you have to wait a little bit, but they really enjoy it. And so I think when you educate your kids, you know, they will love to travel more, you know.
So looking at statistics, you know, the number of Muslims who are below 30, you know, is already huge, and then now you're looking at another lot coming, and that is a world of a possibility that is sitting in front of us, and that's time now to go out there. Since we have a little bit of an understanding, download the reports, find out more, and seize the opportunity to go out after this women market and Muslim women market. So with this, we have come to the end of our panel, and we are open to any questions from the floor. Anybody interested to pick on their brains? Any questions at all? Yes.
Is there any misperception of Muslim women travelers that you would like to clear, or you want to clarify with the world? If there's one common misperception about Muslim travelers, Muslim women travelers.
I would say it's most probably the solo travel piece, because I think in the past you've normally seen when it's Muslim women traveling, they cannot travel on their own. They are now traveling on their own. It's usually that they would have to travel with guardians or with parents or the extended family. I think that's an important insight, because when you're traveling as a solo traveler, what you're looking for, the experience is completely different, right? And it's because there's more income. They want to embrace new cultures. They want to educate themselves more. And I think a lot of times when Muslim solo travelers are going, they're also using that as an opportunity to represent themselves as being modern, yet very much, embedded in their religious beliefs as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, please.
Thank you very much. I am from Lombok, from Indonesia. I would like your perspective facing how actually the local government should prepare to do the more halal tourisms, especially to serve the women in Muslims. Thank you.
Would you like to take what countries can do to attract Muslim women?
I think we already answer, I think maybe to provide, but some things, we speak about halal food, all of this, but I think the most important thing, and it's not especially for Muslim women, it's for all women, safety. True, I say, I want halal food, I want mosque, but the first thing that I want is safety. I want to be safe, and if you have kids, it's something more and more, important. Yeah.
If I can share, I think a country that has done really well in communicating the Muslim consumer is actually Japan. So, for example, they have a lot of guides in terms of, okay, these are Muslim-friendly places, this way you can get Muslim food. So if you add a dimension of being a Muslim female traveler, then I think we dial up the safety element a lot more. So I think when Aisha gave the example about having a female driver pick her up, I think those are the seemingly small things which are important. So if you think about it, it's just having this type of, infrastructure that that makes it a lot more accessible for the Muslim traveler.
I just want to add on a little bit. I like what South Korea is doing, in the sense that they know what exactly the psyche of the women traveler is after the Korean drama and the Korean wave of cosmetics, and also to do with Korean food. So there is a kind of a trend among Muslim women to go after this. And what they have started to do is provide that in the favor of the Muslim women, halal Korean food. Even if it's shopping or even it's cosmetics, they are trying to make it Muslim friendly. And even if it's shopping, they are looking at shopping for the modest fashion. So if you want to do that, then look at the ride, the wave, what is going on, that the women are going after, and then try to introduce the faith element into it. So like I said, we are not very different from the other women, but we just need to ensure that the faith-based needs are met. So it's quite simple to just seed that in, a little bit go into it, and then, well, I think you got it.
Thank you for your advices. I
heard a lot about Muslim tourism right now in different aspects. I see that the currents are going through in one way or another, through the countries that have some kind of Muslim community already, or has something to do with Muslims. I come from Ecuador in Latin America. So in this part of the country, we have communities, Muslim communities, but very, very small. So we can say that we are not very prepared to receive this amount of tourism, this current of tourism. But I can see that you want to travel. So my first part of the question is, do you think that Muslim women are ready or are willing to go abroad this far? And the other question is, us as local DMCs, because governmental is another level, we are here like B2B, how can we approach these new markets, which will be the best way to get to you, it actually can be effective for us companies to get to these current markets.
Thank you for your question. Before I pass it on to one of them here, if you look at the pictures, I'm sitting in Bhutan, and she was talking about Bosnia, and I don't know what is it? It's China, even Italy. They are all predominantly Muslim destinations. So I think that's another misperception that we are only going to the Muslim-friendly or Muslim-dominant destinations. But I think the curiosity is in there for us to explore destinations that are not Muslim-dominant. I mean, once upon a time, I think I would go to Abu Dhabi, Dubai, because it's so easily available in terms of food. But today, I want to go to destinations beyond that, and I'm going to give it to Husna because I think she's listening more to Muslim women and where they are traveling. Yeah.
You are from? Sorry?
Ecuador.
Oh, okay. I want to go there, but for now it's just in a program because we are in Singapore, so we really try to travel, near. But to be honest, we are ready to travel, and you can see that, like what you say, Muslim women, they go everywhere. I mean, China, I remember when I say to a lot of Singaporeans, I'm going to China, they're, what are you doing in China, There is no halal food and no... But finally I find a lot of, not a lot, but there is Muslims, and it was okay, I mean, I will not die if I don't eat meat during 2 weeks, or, so, yeah.
If I can share, I would love to be going to Ecuador. It is a bit far, so I think maybe a few points. The easiest way to really talk to the Muslim consumer is to look at partnerships. So, for example, when I went to Bosnia, I went with an agency which had a bit of a religious element in that they had an itinerary which was somewhat flexible, but at the same time it was catered for Muslims, and we could learn. There was also a teacher, like a Muslim teacher, who would teach us about some aspects of the history about religion. And one of the things that he always emphasizes is that firstly, a religion encourages people to travel around the world, and secondly, when you travel, it's also recognizing that you have to be flexible. So yes, we may not have halal food, so then do we go vegetarian? Do we eat food that is okay for Jews, for example? So I think there is an opportunity. What you want to be doing is, I guess, talking to people who are already talking to your Muslim consumer, because that's probably the easiest way to start. And increasingly, there are more agencies who are focusing on the Muslim travel segment.
Do we have time for one last question? What should we do? Should we take a gentleman to understand us better? Yes. There are more gentlemen interested in us.
Thank you very much. So I just wonder, for Muslim women travelers, is it important to buy travel stuff from Muslim seller? For example, or if they want to trip to, I don't know, maybe to Dubai or to United States, they can buy from Agoda, for example, or another OTA owned and operated by a Muslim, right? Is it an important factor for Muslim women travelers? If, let's say, if both of these OTA selling at the same price, or is it more like price sensitive? I mean, the Muslim travelers don't really care about who sell the product as long as the cheapest one.
We're going to leave them to the money guys.
Thank you very much.
So thank you for the question. I think there are two parts of it. One is, everyone is, to a certain extent, there's always going to be price sensitivity. But I think it's also about the social cause. We talked a bit about that early on, right? So if there's a provider, for example, who's saying that, we are giving back to our communities, we're using things which are homegrown, there's always that, because we are seeing Muslim female travelers find that to be fairly important. I think it also then this comes back to are you providing what is relevant for them? I don't think per se it'll be like I'm not going to go to one over the other because this is provided by, I don't think it's who is providing it or the ethnicity or the religion of the provider. That's not as important as what is being provided, how good is it, and how well you are able to communicate.
At the end of the day, it's what's your value proposition? Are you speaking to us? If you can communicate in a manner that speaks to our hearts, I think you have us as your customer. I don't think it's about being biased towards one and not the other. Would you like to ask? Yes.
Hi, my name is Eric from Malaysia. We're coming from a country with a lot of multiple races. So two questions here. One is around, I believe in enriching local living culture understanding, right? And that's a trend. How open in terms of Muslim travelers, whether it's women or men, to even explore and experience things like going to the temple or church, right? One, to even experiencing a nightlife of even bar hopping, but not necessarily drinking alcoholic drinks, right? So how is that? What are your thoughts in that sense?
Okay, personally, yeah. You can go and you can see maybe my vlog, but it's very funny because you speak about temple, and sometimes I have some comment from Muslim and they tell me, Hasna, why you speak about temple, why, okay, I know that you like to travel, but it's, it's opposite of, of Islam, but for me I don't care, when I go to a place, I want to visit the temple and the mosque, and yeah, I remember when I went to Syria a long time ago before the war, we went and we sleep in this monastery, and it was so nice to meet people and to, so yeah, so for me I just say to these people, it's a chance to understand the other people, and when I go to a country, I will not find only Muslim, I want to know these people, the church, and yeah.
I think today when you look at the Muslim women, there is an intellectual engagement with the faith. It's not about blind faith, but there's a lot of intellectual engagement. So it's about understanding what's right, what's wrong, but as long as it does not deter us from practicing. And I think you're right, where it's about exploration of another culture. So what are we traveling for? So I think there's a shift in the minds of women today that we are traveling because we want to learn, we want to explore. And what's the point of being confined to our own religious, culture and so forth? So there is an openness. We see that, and I come from a travel agent background as well, and we see that whether in an incentive trip or travel agency customers, they want to explore. They want to get out there and go into local communities, and engage in that. I'm not sure about the bar hopping thing. I think we are done, but we are going to be loitering around here and maybe at the Russian tea because we want to explore that as well. So feel free to come and engage us. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We have Akasha, Aisha, and